Hi team, we run Coach Alexa here, coach for Reading, South Oxfordshire and online. Another video in my series on overtraining today, and I wanted to dive a bit deeper into some of the lifestyle factors that can impact that training versus recovery balance and can lead to overtraining. So I talked in my last video about, the training stimulus. So there's a bit of a seesaw always whenever we train for any sport of the training that we do and then the rest and recovery time that we need to recover from it and adapt to it and improve and get fitter. So in my last video, I talked how the fact that often when the seesaw has been prioritising the training load for far too long and not prioritising enough that rest and recovery, that is a potential cause of overtraining. Now, the other side of things is not taking enough recovery, and I chatted about that a little bit in my last video as well. So we're talking about rest days, recovery weeks, download weeks, that kind of thing, planning people's training. But the other side of the rest and recovery piece of the puzzle is everything else that's going on in your life and how that impacts how well you are resting and recovering, repairing and adapting in your downtime. So a few examples or kind of case studies, scenarios to think about. One of which, having an incredibly stressful time. So that might be really busy at work. That might be personal life stuff. It might be a friend or a family member who's struggling or who is ill. It might be your child having a really difficult time at school. Things that make us stressed, particularly, things that have that emotional element to the stress where it's more difficult to disconnect from. So that stress feels that little bit more pervasive in our body. Now, those things will very much impact how we recover. So when we're in that stressed state, our body basically sits in that fight, flight or freeze mode where adrenaline and cortisol levels are high. So we're kind of primed and ready for action. Now, that might sometimes, but probably not in the medium to long term, be useful for a speed session because you feel you've got a lot of that pent up energy to burn out and you can really get yourself stuck into that strength session or that interval session. But when our bodies are in that state for a long time, that's not what they're built to be. We're built to deal with stressors like lions. Where they're there, we have to run or we do something or we hit them on the head with a stick and then the stress is gone, right? So that adrenaline cortisol peaks, we're primed for action, for running, for fighting, for freezing and hope it all goes away, which is probably my response. And then it goes and those cortisol, adrenaline and stress levels go back down to baseline again. Now, the problem with the sort of insidious ongoing stress that we have often in our day-to-day lives, as I said, work, personal life stuff, worries, anxieties, is that the stress is there and our body is in that stressed state. Admittedly, probably not as stressed as it would be about actual lions, but there's still a background level of stress there that is there all of the time. Now, that adrenaline and cortisol combination keeps our body primed. When our body is in that state, our brain is also deprioritising a whole load of systems that are non-essential in that short stress response time frame. So if we're thinking about the lion situation, we want to throw everything at running away from it, protecting our families and our home, hitting it over the head with a stick. Probably not what you do with a lion, is it really? But and so it deprioritises things like our digestive system, our immune system, our body's repair functions, all sorts of stuff. Now, that's great then because, a few minutes or maybe 10 minutes or an hour later, situation's over, everything goes back to normal and all of those systems can ramp back up again. With that ongoing lower but still noticeable level of stress, we don't get that respite. We don't get those systems being able to ramp up back to normal again. So it might be why I notice when I'm going through a longer sort of ongoing period of days or weeks of stress, I feel it in my tummy, feeling a bit nauseous, my digestion just goes a bit off sync because that digestive system is being deprioritised. Immune system's deprioritised. Why we get run down, we can pick up more of the winter bugs at this time of year when we've got that low level of stress bubbling along in the background. And it also impacts our training because it impacts that recovery, those recovery and rebuild systems which kick in when we're chilled, when we're relaxed, when that stressful situation has gone away. They don't get that opportunity to kick in, help you repair, recover and adapt to training anywhere like what they would be doing when you've got that opportunity to relax. So what can you do about it? A lot of it, to be honest with you, is very easy for me to say, much more challenging to put into practice, particularly if you really do have a stressful situation going on, you know, personally, illness or things going on with family, friends. You know, some of that stuff is horrible, but kind of exists in a lot of people's lives. There are some stresses that you can control, so it might be thinking about how you improve your work-life balance, how you can perhaps just find a few minutes in each day where you do nothing, where you let your body relax, how you can best use your downtime. So, you know, when we're on our phones, we're still in that stressed state, we're scrolling, it's kicking off this sort of ego and reward and desire to be, you know, socially accepted centres in our brain that are working away. Put the phones and the devices to one side, sit down with a good book or listen to some lovely music or do something that is creative, that allows your body to be physically inactive but mentally calm. Computer games, a lot of television, not all, but a lot of, you know, action, Game of Thrones style television. It's not relaxing, really, is it? If we're honest with ourselves, devices, computers, phones definitely aren't relaxing. So the trick is to avoid or minimise the impact of those stressful situations as much as is practicable. But also alongside that, try to engineer in times in your day where you allow your body to just try and relax as much as possible. And some people, myself included, it's useful to get, you know, an external view on this and some help in redirecting the brain away from some of those more anxious thoughts. Hope that's useful. I hope that gives you a bit of context around how the rest of life can really impact our training. Happy running.